parla primer.
Good.
Vale, ja ho reps?
Sí.
Doncs quan comenceu li dono al gravar en local. Tu també pots, no sé si pots fer un doble paquet, si volguessis, d'això de l'stream.
Sí?
No sé, mira, amb l'UVLC pots posar l'URL.
Sí, l'RTM.
I després em sembla que també pots gravar amb l'Extended Options. Si volguessis capturar, també es pot. El comprimit, jo també li gravo el comprimit, no sé si l'altre no m'hi cabia.
Va una mica amb delay, és normal, perquè ara em veig que m'atorquen allò al cap. Val, d'acord.
Vale, estamos en el aire. Ara, de tota manera, he agafat un micro, el retorn, uns auriculars, per veure si retorna el so i tot això. Jo sí. Jo sempre porto les pitjors, perquè així funcionem amb això i ja tenim seguretat.
Sí, millor aquí perquè així jo no interferim a la pell.
Se'ls poden posar mosques i coses així.
No, ja funciona. L'àudio l'estic sentint al meu.
I què tal? Vale. Això amb les Androids no... Aquí no es pot parlar, diria aquí.
I propose that we adopt this proposed rules of procedure. So please raise your hand if you delegate and if you would like to have these rules of procedure published in the weekly. Anybody opposing? Voting no?
But shouldn't we have time to check which are the rules of procedure?
Well, they're in the wiki, you can look now. They're now in place because no votes and we don't need the abstentions to the rules of procedures. Thank you very much. Congratulations on that. First decision, already done. Second decision, we need a chairman of the meeting due to the rules of procedures. And we have a candidate here, Krishna, who has prepared a lot of the procedural for the meeting. And I would ask you to vote for Krishna. Or first, sorry, second. Is there any other delegates for the role of the chairman of the meeting? No? Then please your votes. Vote yes for Krishna. Thank you very much. No? No? The vote no? Thank you very much. Congratulations. I take over to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, there are several things we have to do. One is to put on the agenda, and also what we have to do is to publish the way we are going to vote. It would be good if we have not, if you have all your mobile on vibration, please. Stefan would explain more details on the procedures of the voting cards, and the details about delegates concerns those.
Yeah. So from those delegates who are here, we need some authorization from your board. Unless you are stated as a board member or an international coordinator on the website of your party, then it's okay. Otherwise, please have a statement from a board member ready. And Muriel,
I can send you the list of the
okay, that's great. And please distribute the cards.
Okay. Okay, do I do this now or do I have some time to do it?
Okay.
Yeah, and we would like to have the delegates in the first row, please.
If possible, because it's easier to count if you're all in
So,
one row.
there are several things in parallel. We need all the delegates. We would ask to sit in the front row. It's easy for voting. They will not get food first.
There's not enough room in the first row for all the delegates.
Okay,
Okay, but now
to get the idea, please fill in the first row with all the delegates.
So basically we have a
They are the ones
white
with
card.
the white card.
It should be in the front.
It should be in the front row. The second important thing, while we're doing this, we need several helpers. One is the person who keeps the minutes, and we're already having one, but I want you to approve of him. So I would ask, he's a very good one, so he will do it for the whole weekend probably, unless he drops dead or so. And I would ask you to vote for him who's in favor that Jens will do the minutes. Who is against it? Or okay. Anyone else wants to do it?
Might be quicker to do against first.
Right, okay. I'm fine with that. Then, for the session later, we will have a moderator. Muriel has asked in advance, and there is a list of a few sentences. One of them is Julia. I don't know all the others. Would these please stand up for a moment so you can see? Who would vote against that they help moderating, putting the order of the speakers and setting up who speaks after whom and these things? Who else is there?
Some may come at their time, like
person who helps counting the votes will not delegate. Okay, so you would, for each time you vote, you would have to count 4 on and 6. Then Muriel has prepared voting cards, so it's not as we did until now, just raising the hand. We have 3 colors of cards: green, red, and white, which means yes, no, abstain. Or abstain doesn't have actually meaning, but we have a card for it in case. And she is going to distribute those envelopes. She'll come. Yeah. So she'll come and will distribute. Delegates do not have to move.
So, I don't know. So I have Peter, maybe security. So you
Then?
that's yeah, I don't know because we are maybe we have to Judith and
What you need is an agenda.
so how sorry, can I read that?
So all the present delegates should have 3 cards now.
We have it.
Yeah.
We also have remote delegates. They participate from wherever they are. There is one person who, where is he? Where is Jens? Well, we should have one person, he will be coming, who is a proxy for the remote participants, so they can type questions and participate through chat, and they could also vote through that method. So
We have voice chat. It's an active remote office for double times, and I'm always in charge of this thing. And we have voice chat, so anyone can join. We usually make assemblies with people presently and people remotely, so we don't need to defend them. We only open the microphone, and whenever somebody starts speaking, we will see.
okay, we can try it out at lunchtime or so.
That's for the moment. Darío, ¿quieres salvando?
No,
Not yet, they are not yet.
We are going to connect it, so that's
5
the
minutes.
best way.
We'll see.
5
Anyway,
minutes.
our person is not here. So. Okay, we'll the advantage with having a proxy is that he knows the person and he knows the organization.
Yeah, but we had proxies in EPI 2011, and when the proxy goes to the background, remote delegates are not there.
Vote on this data.
We don't need to follow the rules of procedure of EPI for the URL.
vote. Delegates can vote. They can pass motions if they want to change anything. They can speak what they want to speak. And they can counter motions and these things. That would be the way to do it. And at the end, hopefully, we have a set of votes. And we will continue this way if it works out to be somewhat practical. Okay? Who is against this way about the agenda so far? Okay, that's for checking. Who is for this agenda so far? Okay, we take it as a yes. And it will continue throughout the day with other chapters. So if you see you need to change something, I think you can just either pass a motion or you can just change it. It's not such a big thing. For tomorrow, what we have, we will start with, in case we are covered with too much discussion on a topic, we have the possibility to postpone it either to the end of the session or to tomorrow. So we have 2 hours or 2.5 hours tomorrow where we can only discuss in detail on important things where we say today it takes too much time. And we have a short overview of what is to follow. We can also use that for further discussions if you need. And what else do we have? Okay, before lunch would be the end of the actual discussion part from our part. There is a podium or a talk sequence that is in the center of Barcelona, where everyone is invited, but that's not a discussion part. Maybe Muria can introduce that a little bit.
Tomorrow afternoon?
Yes.
Yes, there will be, since many of the delegates have to leave, usually on Sunday afternoon to go back to their classes, there won't be any key discussions about the statutes tomorrow in the afternoon. There will be some talks that I think they will be very interesting, but so that the delegates can relaxedly go home without thinking they are missing an important, vital part of the meeting.
And I want to remind you once again that we ask for authorization of some kind. Okay, so then we can start.
Okay.
We have some paper sheets, those were old-fashioned, for the motions. It's very simple. You write your name, your party, and whether you're an official delegate, just a mark. You can write which part of the statutes draft you relate to, if you do. For example, you can write objective 10 or something. You can write a motion text. You want to change something, you want to change to this or whatever you want. You should give justification why you want to do it. And you should sign it. There's also one thing, if there is not enough time, you can state that it's not complete. So you can make an outline of what you want to have, and you don't mark that the text is complete.
Can we send email?
You can send it via email?
Yes.
No, it's the sheet. We need it here, unfortunately.
Okay, so anybody can file a motion, but of course only the delegates can vote on the motion.
Okay. So to distribute. Okay. This is a very short overview. Maybe you can save some time. I wanted to, because we started in May with the sessions for 2 parts regarding the statutes and the program of the PPU. There are 2 distinct topics. So the statutes obviously discuss all the formal parts, mainly the statutes, and the program group tries to identify common programs. Also in this scenario, since we're discussing the programs anyway of the different parties, we will find out the conflicting parts, if there were any. The kickoff was in the middle of May. all the delegates, all the parties. Then we started detailing what actually we need in the statutes. So we looked into the other parties' program statutes as a first step, and we wrote down all the topics that we should cover. It was quite easy. And the first one proposed the Euroliquid, Daniele. That was, I think, the first mentioning that I remember at least in May. Okay, and we started writing. So this is not so much. In Aarau, there was a real-life meeting, and several points were discussed. For example, the VPU, if it is proposed out of delegates, should not have their own candidate list for elections. This is, at the moment anyway, not legal. We want to have membership only for independent parties, which can also be independent regional parties. Not only national, but also independent regional, for example. There it was proposed to have a one-chamber system, proposed out of delegates. And it was mentioned to have another conference in November for starting or planning the campaign for the EU elections. And we proposed the second meeting for a joint conference in January. And we discussed the various proceeds, Luxembourg, Brussels, Malta, London, also mentioned, in Sweden. And the kill switch was a mechanism to assure that in case there are pan-European elections, that the PPU does not block the creation of a base party or grassroots democracy in the party, and so we want to have a statement that assures that in those or in certain scenarios the PPU will transform or cease to exist to make way for the proper individual membership party. But this is a very far distant picture in the distant future, actually. Then we continued on different chapters. I think Jack made the first proposal for the statutes. He wrote down many aspects of it. That still included a two-chamber system, one for base and one for delegates. But many of the other things, I believe, are also in the new version. I'm not sure, but that's something that you can check. And there were three member types. It had the Council, the Congress, and the Board. And a kind of skill switch. But that's what we discussed. And we identified that for this skill switch that was proposed, the conditions are very vague. So we had to work on when exactly to apply it. And we started discussing voting weights for the delegates. Then we had the first version of the Euroliquid.
Yes, I updated the wiki.
We come
there.
we will come to this topic of the Euroliquid.
Yes, okay. So I just updated the wiki.
So it's updated.
Okay, wiki updated.
Then we met in Potsdam, real life meeting. We discussed the goals in more detail. We discussed the structure in more detail. The resources, which means time, money, people. We discussed what can the PPU do, what can it not do, and continued a little bit on the dissolution of the party. And then we found a Euroliquid working group to channel the effort because it's becoming more work. And I think the first launch with the version 2. I'm not sure if the date is correct, but anyway now it's updated. The wiki is updated. Then we continue working on the goals and refine them into 8 separate, better worded objectives. Then we introduced, I think, the Euroliquid to the delegate chamber and discussion. And we had a more refined This is the code that we're going I'm going to show you also a bit later. Martina further from Germany made it. We had some abstracts that we wanted to have, that is an idea of capping the effort that is used for actual work toward goals and administrative goals. So we wouldn't have a whole meeting like this weekend where we only discuss the statutes. We would only have like half a day or so to work on the statutes, and we should work 1 day or 1.5 days on actual goals and proceed with those. That's the basic idea. The numbers are not important. There can be other thresholds. And we discussed admission criteria for the right to join the party. So this is basically what we have discussed in the previous 3 months, 3 and something months, at a high level. The BPU will not create its own program, it will only identify what is already there. There will be some inclusion or respect of basic democratic entity, the Euroliquid. They will not have their own candidate list. We will have independent, also regional parties, but we're going to have a one-chamber system, or start with one-chamber system. We probably are going to have voting weights, but it's not clear what voting weights yet. And we have a good set of goals. Okay. This is the last 2.5 months. Any questions for that? Okay. Then, I suggest I will simply continue. Okay. Actually, it was supposed that Martina will join today and explain the statutes. I'm not so good at explaining all this because I didn't write it, but I can do a little bit. It has several chapters. There's a very large preamble on a global level. I'm not going to discuss it at the moment. Then there are general provisions. In the last meetings, we identified that Belgium is probably the most probable way for the seat. And also we had an offer from Amelia Andersdotter that we can use the office as a seat, as an actual postal address and as the seat, so we introduce it here. There are legal provisions that we have to adhere if we are if we are registered in Belgium, we have to adhere to the Belgian law, of course. I will not go through this in detail. What we want to have is that our working language is English. Everything we do is in English. We can translate, but that is a special thing. In case of conflicts, the English working version is the prevailing one.
The only exception might be the statutes. We will have to have an official translation of the statutes if we come in Belgium. There has to be a French or Dutch translation, which is legally binding. But everything else, program, the protocols of the board, and so on, should be in English, and the English version would be the official version.
Some more legal things. The PPU will be represented by its board, or the chairman. He can represent the PPU, the delegate chamber. They will have limited liability according to their tasks. In the principles,
okay. So in the principles, the main point is that we are trying to become a European party and recognized as a European party. That we want to take into account the opinions of individual pirates in the member parties.
One of the major goals we wanted to have is that we have close working relations with each other and with other groups, let's say, of relevance at the course level. That's what we urgently want. Then, in the delegate chamber, we want to identify common policies, common political programs for the European level. And of course, we want to have them implemented as law. That's a consequent step. Also, we want to work in election campaigns and support individual parties where possible. We want to organize pan-European events, conferences, conventions, to move further the pirate movement in general. We want to establish the movement in the public's eye, in a firm way, in the European Union and also in entire Europe. That is the goal we're going for. And the PPEU can be the voice or the broadcaster for the party's policies. Or, if we don't have a policy but only a topic of interest that we agree on, it will broadcast those. And of course this will be agreed, so it is not that the PPEU can speak for a single party or so, of course only for the group of parties.
Okay, we propose 5 different types of membership. The first one is the ordinary members. That is national parties in countries that are members of the European Union. They have full voting rights in the council and so on. The second type is associate members. They are higher parties that are not, or of nations that are not European Union, but are geographically at least partly located in Europe. So any of the countries bordering with the European Union and so on. They also have full voting rights. The only difference is that they don't have voting rights for decisions that involve the policies and structure of the European Union or its institutional system. So basically, ordinary members and associate members are equal, except when it regards particular European Union topics. The third type is the observer members. These are, for example, regional parties that are subordinate to a higher level party. So any party that is the highest level in that country and isn't a member of a larger national party can become an ordinary member, but any regional party that is part of the national party can only become an observer member. They get to participate in the discussions in the council and so on, but they do not have voting rights. The fourth type of member is supporting members. This is the only type of member that is not an organization in this case, but an individual. A supporting member can be anybody who is not a member of one of the parties that are member of PPEU. We have this proposal because, as you may know, in order to get funding through the European Union, European party has to have elected representatives in a quarter of the European countries. So it could be that, for example, somebody in the European Parliament is an independent and was elected in some country where we don't have a pirate party, but this independent wants to become a member of the PPEU because they have the same goals, but there is no pirate party that they could join. So in this case, they could join as a supporting member and also count towards those 1/4 of European countries. So basically, supporting members, individual members, are only members as long as they are not part of a party that is PPEU. And the last type, also supporting members, same as observer members, they get to participate, and probably don't get to vote, but this is something we have to discuss. So maybe we think they should get to vote. So this is, of course, as I said, everything is open to discussion. So we have ordinary, associate, observer, and supporting members. And the last type are special members. These special members are one, the European Youth Organization of the private party. So there is a movement to found the Young Pirates of Europe. There will be a special member, also without voting rights, I think, or we change that. The other type of special members is the group of pirates in the European Parliament. So they are, as a party group, also a special member of the CPE. We will go through the rights or the eligibility. So what the criteria do you have to fulfill to become a member? We will go through that in detail. Then also what are the obligations of the members and what are their rights. We will discuss this for every single proposed type of member. And then, of course, you can make motions, you can pose questions, and then we will vote on this membership model. Yes, that's it for members. Should I continue with yes? Okay. Yeah, we also have a proposal for how new members can get accepted and how members can get expelled from the PPEU, but we will discuss this in detail later. Then we have the organs. Basically, there are three. There is the council, which is delegates from all the associate and ordinary member parties. And of course, without voting rights, all the other member types. We have the board, which is the executive and does the day-to-day work. The board we propose has at least 3 members. There has to be a chairperson, there has to be a treasurer, and a general secretary who keeps the contact with the members. The third one is an optional one. It's the pirate chamber. So this is the, we had this discussion about whether it should be a party-based organization or it should be a member-based organization. And what the realization that we came to is that it really depends. If PPEU writes its own political program that goes beyond what the single parties do, then of course it has to be direct democratic and individuals should participate. And in which case would you need a common political program that goes beyond the parties? It's in the case that there is a pan-European election. That means right now basically we have a European Parliament, but every nation votes for themselves and then sends somebody to the European Parliament. But there are some discussions that maybe some people should be voted on by the European parties. That means if you live in Italy, you could vote for a delegate or for a candidate from Germany or from Sweden, and there would be one list of candidates for all PPEUs. So if this ever happens, if the elections for the European Parliament get changed in the way that there is a pan-European election with one voting list for all of Europe, in this case, there also has to be a pirate chamber of individuals that votes on this list of candidates, because we believe that it should not be the delegates from the parties that makes a candidate list for an election, because that wouldn't be direct democratic. So basically, the pirate chamber is in this draft for the statutes, but it only becomes active under 2 conditions. One option is if there are pan-European elections and we need to have a delegate list. In this case, pirate chamber gets created. The other is if we, for some reason, need to do a political program that goes beyond just looking what's in programs of all the members and just assembling it. Because that's not writing a program, that is just collecting what is already there. two conditions under which there would be a second chamber, the pirate chamber. Yeah, I think that's enough for now.
Okay. And we go down further, it becomes less and less detailed because we haven't finished everything yet. We have discussed a few bullet points on how the delegates chamber would vote the board, but these will be discussed later. So there will be the parties can appoint delegates, and they can name candidates for the board of the PPU. And delegates will then vote among those candidates, for example. And the idea, of course, this is not a rule, but we want to have not only one party represented in the entire board, should be at least two parties or three parties. But that's not a must. I don't think we can do it as a must. And we want to start with 1 year election period. So every year we will have another election. And as the ordinary and associate members are the ones with voting rights, they will vote. Okay, there's a lot of finance stuff. The EU does some funding, but we need to have fees from the participating members. Yeah, the EU would finance up to 85%. So the 50% has to come from us anyway, so there's no way around it. We want to have a base fee and a variable part. Base part and the fixed base part and the variable part for the fees, depending on size or some other criteria. We're not, I think, finished with that proposal.
I think the most important point is that the board does the day-to-day financial stuff, but at the beginning of every fiscal year, the council makes a budget plan. And the board has to abide by that budget plan. And at the end of the year, the council decides on whether the board did everything correctly with regards to the finances and then absolves them of their responsibility. And it's also, well, there's a lot of legal stuff that has to be in there because it's, we want to apply for European Union funding. It's not very interesting. And then there are some rules for if we co-organize an event. For example, the Pirate Party in one of the member states wants to do an event. Then there are rules on how much the PPEU can contribute funding. In this case, 50% of the total cost of the event. And also how it is decided that such events take place. In this case, this is not decided by the board, but by the council. Of course, this is open to discussion, so we can decide on whether we want to have the board make these decisions or the council. Then there's also some rules that there can be reimbursements. For example, if the board members have to, or the delegates have to travel and the finances of the organization allow it, that we can reimburse them, for example, for their travel costs and so on. There is auditing, which is a legal obligation in Belgium. Belgium has an institute of company auditors, and we have to appoint somebody from that institute to look through our finances and see if everything's working correctly. And yes, I think the other stuff is mostly legal.
We have a first proposal on how to change the statutes. This is by a majority vote, not by consensus, I believe.
Two-thirds of the votes cast.
Two-thirds of the votes cast.
Except
and it has to be two-thirds must be present also.
Yes. Basically, you have a meeting of the council. If there are less than two-thirds of the delegates present, you can't change the statutes in this meeting, but you can invite to a new meeting. And if at this meeting again there are less than to change the statutes, except for the principles and objectives of the organization, because these are really the core of what the PPEU is. And in this case, there has to be a higher majority, and it's still open if it's unanimous, but that would probably make sense. Yeah.
We're almost finished. Okay, we'll set it up for an unlimited period, unless we solve it ourselves, basically. But there are other lawful solutions from external. And if that happens, then the council will organize all the leftovers and how to appoint the remaining duties and these things. It has to be organized. Then basically we can put the statutes, once we have a full version of the statutes and that's agreed upon, we can, the parties can ratify it, or the board can sign it, depending on the mechanism of how you approve it. And then within 3 months we have to have a founding conference where we have to meet and have a legal conference meeting, because that is necessary to create the organization. That's the end.
Okay. So basically we're going to go through these different topics point by point. I will start with the moderation of the topic of objectives, because I think we first have to agree on what the organization should do, and then we talk about other stuff like membership.
Are we ready to vote? Do we have the authorization?
Yeah.
Okay, and
everyone?
I don't know about the remote.
Is the person for the remote delegates here yet?
The model is there.
Is it working? Yeah. Okay. The procedure is this. First, I will present what's in this whole paragraph. So I will present all the objectives. Then I open the floor for discussion. I keep a list of who wants to say something. And once the discussion concludes, hopefully rather quickly, you can file motions to change the text. And we can decide on either to approve the whole text, or if people are against that, we have to vote on every bullet point. So basically we are not voting on the final text of the draft, because the final text of the statutes, because that has to be cleared with a lawyer, and it has to be in the language of the country where we're going to found and so on. So basically we decide on the content of the objectives, and then you will get the exact wording as soon as it is ready.
Technically, we would have one session about procedural decision making, which probably, if you want to do it, Stefan will explain some more details.
Yeah. So the procedure proposed is we have a simple majority vote for everything, so it's not so complicated. And of course the remote delegates can also vote. And there are procedural motions, so you can ask that we actually, I'm going to read that, because I think it's important that we... Yeah, request to speak, you raise your hand. And if you want to make a procedural motion, you make something like this, time out. And there is a motion to change the order of the agenda, to table a motion, so no longer discuss it, to suspend the meeting, so if we want to make a recess for some reason or another, to limit the time of the speakers in general, to end the debate, to close the debate on the topic, which if it's closed, everyone that has raised his hand, can speak, of course, but no more after that. There is a procedural motion to call a straw poll, so to get a view what people think without having it binding, yes. To modify a motion, to re-elect the chairman, but we don't need that. And of course to change the rules of procedure. And one is also to assess the quorum. According to the rules of procedure, we have a quorum of 1/4 of the accredited delegates. Without the quorum, we can't proceed. So this is a safeguard that if there is something out there and everyone runs out, then the guy who remains doesn't decide anything. Yeah, that's basically the important things. Are there any questions to that?
Okay, so basically the chairman will be taking care of all these procedural things, and I will try to moderate the discussion and keep the list and introduce the topic.
But one more thing before we come to voting, I would like to have one person who counts the votes.
You don't have it.
Sorry.
And we should do a practice one.
And we do a practice like you wanted to?
No, I don't have the vote. I'm just the moderator, so also to test if the remote delegates if everything's working.
Okay, let's try it.
So, procedural motion to assess the quorum.
Okay, so
We are voting on whether there are more than 1/4 of the delegates present.
And it doesn't matter what you vote, it's just that you are present.
okay.
So who's present?
Just keep them up first. What's that? That's that one. It's green.
There's only one card,
Just
not this or 3 cards.
don't hold it sideways.
Set down.
We have 6 plus 2 plus 5. 13 delegates.
Sorry, I didn't understand. Can you repeat the
Well, unfortunately, now we have made the vote, and this is now over. But we have more test runs.
But were the remote delegates included?
Yeah.
Yes, she's holding the card for everyone.
Oh, there is only one.
For the moment, it's only one.
Okay. Good.
So if you say 6 plus 2 plus 5, what does it mean?
6 green, 2 red, 5 white.
So yes, no,
Yes, no.
abstention.
Report is, we will not discuss or we will not vote on the statutes in the literal wording as it is in the wiki. We will discuss on the guidelines what we see here.
Can we create a pad where we can share all the positions and the things? A pad. Can we create a pad?
I don't get what you will still do lunchtime or half a motion.
What should be on that? Because we
So
have
verbalize with the
I want to
And you
discuss
can
it.
write in the pad. Okay.
Well, we're
Krishna, we also are recording this, so we can always go back to the recording.
So we are voting on the text on the slides. Then hopefully everybody can
One quick question. Would it be possible to vote publicly since we are all the delegates and our parties? I mean,
Yeah, we have a name on the card.
Oh,
so that the
we
names
should
would be
record
written
who
in the
votes
report.
what.
So we have to move the
The
camera.
text, yeah, but we should probably write it down.
Well, it's not in the rules of procedure right now, but of course I want to decide really who has named.
But we should decide on it now because it is important to the members involved.
Can I propose it?
Yeah. So you can just write it down. But then you should probably get something else. I think it's probably get one or two votes and then you just invite them. Okay, so in the meantime, can I have your attention, please? While he is preparing his motion, and I think it makes sense to get one or two people to help. What's your name? Max, with the counting, because if you have to write down every country and how they voted, it's a lot of work. So there should be 3 people, and they all get a block of delegates who they have to write down. So are there any volunteers to help with the counting of the votes? 2 people would be good. 1?
I think it will be first time.
There's someone online asking if he can see the votes online, someone who is voting online.
We need a second camera, or we move the camera where we can rotate.
Maybe we
We can do it, then okay.
But I don't think he's asking to see the people who is voting. I think he's asking for the votes itself, for the results.
It's very hard in real time.
Okay.
No, but he's writing it in the protocol, right? So,
Ah, well,
yes, he
a
just-
camera over there in his screen, you mean?
No, I say if you want to have it filled, move the camera, then you see the people.
I think he wants to see the slides.
You have to see the slides and the people.
Because
Well,
he doesn't know what we are voting on. Like, he doesn't know.
Yeah, the slides.
Okay.
Something like that.
Well, we can record who votes what, but we can't put it in stream immediately.
No, to know what he has to vote about. Like, what's the question?
Okay, we have 3 more test runs. We will just try. We have enough time to play.
We need one more volunteer for the counting of the votes. Anybody who doesn't have a job? Right, great, thanks.
So in general, if we go to each chapter, we will usually show an overview of the chapter. If we are not voting about, then we will go step by step on each bullet point. If we have limited time, we will also, as it was mentioned, have to reduce the time of speaking or we have to shortcut. But not because we have only 1 day for this. And once you vote, that cannot be changed. Or if you miss 1 vote, it can also not be changed. Important, of course, you can pass motions, you can request to speak, and you can pass propose counter motions. So, we are going to make the test 1. We'll make a simple test for the moment, which is, I will read the question and you will vote. I have understood the procedures and I know what the green voting cards are for.
13 yes, 1 no, and 0 abstentions.
Okay. You have to count the name of the delegates.
Currently, we only need a motion to pass.
But we have the motion now, so we can vote on the motion.
Okay, so I'll read the motion.
Yes, please also say by whom and what party, otherwise we cannot.
By Tom Limassal, Czech party. All the votings are to be done publicly, with each vote assigned to its respective voter. We're all delegates, justification, we're all delegates, and our parties should know how we voted on each of the topics.
And there's a counter motion.
Is there a counter motion?
I'm still finish writing the exact wording, but it's basically the counter motion will be the modified Article 6(8) of the Rules of Procedure to amend the following: that at any time a party can request that the vote will be recorded explicitly in the minutes.
So default is
Default is
don't
like
record it.
just number, and I say the Pirate Party of Kazakhstan requests that the negative vote is noted in the statute, in the minutes.
So then only the Pirate Party of Kazakhstan's vote would be recorded.
We would say we would say 90 yes, 1 against, and the Pirate Party of Kazakhstan knows that is what's in there.
Okay.
Does everybody understand the motion?
I repeat, there's a counter motion which says we will vote as we have been doing so far, and people, delegates, can opt that only their vote is noted in public. So it will be, for example, if Gabriel Engels moves for that, then it will be, we will count the numbers in general, and we will explicitly state, this party Kazakhstan, Gabriel Engels has voted this. So shall we vote on the counter motion?
No,
First motion. Okay. But first on the motion. Please hold your voting cards for the motion. Have it in public in general.
This is every vote is recorded for every vote.
Hold the time, folks. Hold the time. Keep them up.
Small thing for facilitate. Why don't you write a number on the voting card? Then they only have to write voting numbers down, and you can do all things like that. You understand what I'm saying? Because there are numbers on the voting card. You don't have to look, think all the time and write down the numbers. Just
For this motion, we have 7 yes, 1 no, and 4 abstentions.
So that's passed.
Yes.
And that's what we'll do. Do we have to vote on the counter motion? Okay.
There's a new motion. Okay, this is not a motion. So it is a motion.
Okay. I know you, so you go to Mr. Lake, from Daniele, in a few minutes, I can set up a 5-minute policy in your liquid to assist assembly motion election. You can use it.
I'd say in a few minutes I can set up a policy in Euroliquid to assist the voters, the votations in this assembly, because it can be easily counted and recorded in the Euroliquid platform, and they could be projected in the screen. And this is easy way to avoid sharks, and we can invented it, and you can use it. I need just 10 minutes to set up.
Let's vote on this fluid motion.
Okay, come on. Green. There's two greens. So is this what we're voting on?
We're voting on whether to vote with new liquid today and tomorrow.
You come up. 1, 3. Okay, 1 yes, 8 no, and 6 abstentions. 1, 2, 3. 3 abstentions. 1 yes, 8 no, 3 abstentions.
We could use Euroliquid after this conference because it would be much easier to make decisions afterwards. In the meantime, probably it's easier with the cards, but we could establish here now this way of voting for the future so we can keep working and with the foundation.
Let's do these things what we do tomorrow on Monday. That's 1 hour for this. And let's start with the objectives so we can have something done on the actual things before lunch. Not that, at least not a real vote.
Does the individual thing work, or do you want to do it with the numbers? Okay, so there was the idea that every delegate gets a number, and they write this number on all 3 of their cards. So the counters of the votes only have to write down the number.
What if instead of numbers you write like, I don't know, BE or Belgium, because then it's easier to write and you don't have to transform that into numbers. You already know.
Good, but this we prepare during lunch break, I think. What was the time?
You can keep doing it and I can do it. So we have to stop.
We have half an hour break scheduled for now. So what I propose is to prepare the voting cards in the break. We can make a shorter break of 15 minutes and we will continue at 12:15. Okay? So 15 minutes break. And not lunch break. Lunch break will be extra.
I don't have
We'll still have 15 minutes.
5 minutes, right?
just to put the names.
Okay, 5 minutes.
We'll have 15 minutes break.
It starts now, right?
Yes.
Yes, they're going to produce. Yes, we count every it will be in the protocol, but I don't think we can do it live. I don't think we can read out part of what it is because it's
Vaya puesto de
so you need two cards.
Hay un micro ahí. Sí, sí, hay un micro que no está conectado.
Sí, lo que se podría poner. Una lavagna. Sí, sí, la lavagna.
You get extra card. Okay, great.
Sí, però depende del
Loser.
Bueno, al mediodía o así, lo que podemos hacer es una visita, meterla
Pues mira una cosa, es que estic una mica encaixat. Mira, aquesta motxilla negra sota hi ha una bosseta una bosseta en aquestes que estan a la tapa per rodar. Sí, sí que és alguns auriculars. salgo perdiendo porque ahí te podía mover para los cafés y tal, pero bueno. Ahora, bueno, no sabemos las cabecitas ahí que hay. Desde aquí, del Pirata de Cataluña.
Okay, we'll continue. Which means there's a motion to set the quorum, which means the delegates should raise their voting card, please.
Now, on your voting card, you've got your symbol. So can you hold it in a way like we can see the symbol? I need to see the
Spain.
Do you have anything written on your card at the top? Do you have the letters? Just put down yes.
Big letters.
Excuse me, do you mind to change seats because we put the camera near to have the better sight? It's okay if you put here. Yes.
Silence, please.
Okay, so if you're a voting delegate, can you hold up the card again now, please? You're going to sit in the front row.
There's one space here. In the front,
I think there is one missing here. Yes, sorry. I think you have to raise your hand.
Have you just got one at the moment?
Yes, it's only one.
Only one. The others are good?
Not yet.
Can you sit in the front? Can you come to the front, please? Yes.
You vote crazy, no? This is HR.
Ah, sì.
We'll do one more test. So, are we getting results for the forum? Results? There should be results.
How many are there?
Was that a vote?
No.
No, we don't have a report.
But there will be a number of delegates, and you don't know the number.
Well, some people just come in. Can we do it once more? Because some people just return.
Okay, another motion to quorum.
Okay, so,
Everybody.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
I voted for it.
Okay, 14. Okay. Well, but 14 is enough for quorum. Yes. So, we can make a test for an actual vote. Yay.
We have a motion to change the rules of procedure.
Okay, there's a counter motion, I'll read it out. For the proposal, modify Article 6 to amend as following. At each voting, any party can request that their vote is stated explicitly in the minutes. Which is what we are doing. We are counting every party separately at the moment. So
it would change.
But I don't see the point because every party is making its vote public.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
we don't need to state anything
Correct.
in particular.
So if anyone wants to vote on it, we
Can I have a vote? Can I have a voice for the meeting? So, can I speak from here? Can you hear me, or should I say that? Okay.
Okay.
So right now we have a modified. We have a rules of procedure that we take we vote all publicly, and now we write it all publicly in the statutes for every single voting. We just saw that it takes like 3 minutes to take a single every voting, and we will have like hundreds of them. Maybe on every point and every time we will wait for 3 minutes. And maybe some of them are not really that important that everyone should be in the statutes. So but this would modify the rule that we just changed to a way that if body some feels like the motion, they should be explicitly stated in the statutes, in the minutes, like maybe every time maybe some specific motions that they voted different than the others, or whatever, that they can request that it would be put into minutes explicitly how they voted. And it would speed up the process of today and tomorrow significantly. This is my proposal.
Okay. Let's vote on the proposal.
Okay. Keep them up. Hold them up. And make sure. Yeah. It would be really helpful if you can make sure that young lady in the front. Okay, good. Now, yeah, gentleman here, I need to see your symbol on the card. I don't know.
And properly hold whatever it is.
Help us a little bit. Okay, so start here. Sweden.
Daniela, you should probably keep it up because otherwise you come back to you.
Keep in mind you
Yes, so
green. KZ, I've got a green. I've got a green. GAL, I've got an abstention. HR, I've got a green. SI, I've got a green. UK, I've got a abstention. Cats, it's a red, right? Cat? Is it red?
Yeah, red.
Okay, thank you. TE, I've got a red. CH, I've got a green. ES, I've got a white. SK, I've got a red. Okay. Recorded. Thank you.
So as long as the CE,
What the minutes? I can pass it down.
Yeah.
I can pass it down.
Yeah.
What's the result?
What's the result?
He's got it right now.
Nah. Yeah, sure. We have 6 in favor of and 5 against, and 4 abstaining.
Okay.
4.
So
6
it's
in
small.
favor, 5 against, 4 abstentions.
Yep.
So it's passed.
Okay. So we will change the way of voting. So now we have to ask who wants to be voted publicly. Okay, because we have changed the rules of voting, now we have to make another voting to find out. I talk! Okay. We have changed the rules of procedure about voting, which is that only for certain parties who request it, they will be noted publicly in a minute. And in general, we will only count the sum of red, green cards or white cards. So now we have to know who wants to be noted publicly in the minutes. Hold up your green cards if you want to be noted explicitly in the minutes, please. Only green cards are noted.
What? If they request,
Yes. Who wants to be noted explicitly in the minutes?
I thought it was
1, 2, 3, 4. For this order, for all of them, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You want to be noted explicitly every time.
Every time.
No. Why?
At each voting,
Each vote.
any party can request.
Do this at each vote.
So,
Yes.
Can
Time.
I make a
Yes.
proposal? So basically, we do the vote. Then after the vote, we ask, does anybody want to be recorded? And then you lift your respective card and then we record it. And you will perhaps notice that it's not necessary every time.
Yes.
Well, there were 5 parties that were against this counter proposal, which means they want to be noted every time.
No, that's not.
What?
Okay.
Okay, then my bad.
So always after the vote, we always ask who wants to be recorded, and then you raise your card again.
We have our remote voting. You're counting. Right.
Then we will start with the actual voting finally. And we will start with the objectives.
Yes. Here comes the fun part. So first of all, I will give you an overview of the draft of objectives. Then I will ask you to comment. Of course, if everybody's happy with it, you don't have to say anything. But if you want to comment on it in the discussion phase, you just raise one hand, and I will record you as a speaker. And please try to keep your speech short. Then we do the motions to change, and of course the motions can be discussed as well. So this is the objectives overview. There are 8 objectives. The first one is to improve the working relations between its members and also with parties that have the same goals that are not members. The second one is to identify and inform about common policies between the pirate parties in Europe. So the identification part is important. Basically, this means the PPEU doesn't necessarily write its own program that is not covered by the member parties, but it identifies the common points in the parties, and then its program. The third objective is to try to implement these policies, of course. So this PPEU is working towards having them passed as law in one way or another. The fourth is coordinating election campaigns on request of the member parties. So whenever the member parties want the PPEU to help in the coordination of the election campaign, they can come to PPEU and request it. The fifth one is to organize pan-European conventions, so conferences, assemblies, and so on. The next one is to serve as a contact person for the European institutions and for other representatives that want to talk to the pirate parties or to the pirate movement. Seventh one is to establish the pirate movement in the public eye and in the respective to the European Union and Europe as a whole. So basically represent the pirate movement to the public and to the European Union. And the last one is to voice and broadcast for its member parties policy and discussions of interest on request of its members. So basically, the members can come to PPEU and say, look, we have this point in our party program and we would like other pirate parties to discuss this program too. And then the PPEU can help in broadcasting this information and this idea to the other pirate parties in PPEU. This is the overview. Yes. Well, first of all, are there any comments? If you think it's all great, you don't have to necessarily comment on it. I don't see any comments. Does anybody want to find a motion to change these objectives? So apparently nobody wants to change any of them. That means we can. Okay.
So basically, if you want to cut some of them out, you actually can afford it.
No, to have one of them out, you just have to say you don't want to vote them on block. So first I ask if we want to vote it on block.
Okay.
And if somebody is against voting on block, then we go through every point and every point has to be passed.
Okay.
So you don't have to find a motion to take the entire bullet point out, but if you want to change the content of the bullet point, then you have to do a motion. So, yes?
I miss one objective overview in working together. In the case of difference of European point of view or private European view, that there is a local view for local reasons towards Europe, there should be the respect or the intention of working with different approaches, different defined as the private party Europe. You understand what I'm saying?
Can I paraphrase? So you want it to state that if there is a local view on a topic that is different from the other parties?
What I'm trying to avoid is that the identification of the common policies should not be a dictation for a European program for a private party.
Okay.
So that's yes? Why it is common, but because it's an objective overview, I think one should already include possible conflict as as a workable mechanism.
Okay. So what you're saying is that the PPEU should not overrule the individual parties. This is in the draft for the statutes, but it's not in the objectives, because it's not an objective to not do this, but it's in the general provisions.
So the question would be, would it be part of the objectives, one of the objectives?
Okay, well, in this case, it says in the objectives to identify and inform about common policies between the pirates of Europe. So it doesn't say anything about overruling, it only says identify. So if there are differences between the parties, then it cannot identify it as a common policy. So I think this is covered.
And it falls under the forming of the common policies. I understand now what you're saying.
Okay, so
That's
is it
what I just
acceptable?
proposed. You explained. No, that could be tackled within the common policies, how to form a common policy, and etc. As a subcategory, and not as a separate category.
Yes,
Although I still point out that conflict is always evident, and I still.
Yes.
It's a philosophical.
Yes, I see your point, but I think this is part of the decision-making process. When we talk about decision-making, we have to talk about how can the common policies be identified. That doesn't have to be unanimous, but I don't think it's part of the objectives, this question. So we will come to it.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay, so, yes.
Maybe, I'm not sure about the rules, maybe wording is excluded, so just tell me if it's a good example of what we should discuss later. But when we say party members, we restrict the objectives to parties, and some members can be individuals, and maybe in the future we will have, with the gap switch system, we will have members that are mostly individual.
Why does it say party members?
At line 20,
No, we are not voting on the draft statutes. We are only voting on the bullet points.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Between the objectives, maybe you should use it. It would be possible to add another objective, or is it better to vote this on first time and then afterwards add these other objectives? So because there's a proposal, you know about European citizen initiatives.
Yes.
And PPU is not a party itself, it's a non-profit, so it can participate in this kind of initiatives, and it should be a very good thing to do.
But don't you think this is covered in striving to implement those policies at EU level? I think this would include participating in a citizen campaign.
And the last one also, broadcast for policies and public policies, because the citizen initiative is run by another organization.
Generally,
yes.
Generally, it's good to keep the wording broad, so any type of support for our policies would be covered by these objectives, including a citizens' initiative.
Okay, if we all agree, I will leave it in the statute.
Okay. So, yes?
Just a little point. Even if it's intended, but can we explain the objective that the PPAU will support the establishment of the parties all over the Europe? So they will do media and other way of supporting of the small maybe parties that have no strength to enact.
So you are suggesting to add another objective that says to support the founding of new parties in Europe. So
founding and growth.
If you could prepare a motion for this.
Yes.
And then Sweden wanted to say.
Yes. Hello, fellow delegates and others. I am obviously Swedish. We had a discussion about objectives in Potsdam recently. At that time, I advocated that less is more. And I suggested that we should have fewer objectives, basically saying that the organization should work in the interests of its members. At the end of that conference, that objective was put as one of the many objectives, but from then till now, that objective is gone. So I thought at that point I'd be nice and say, well, we can include other objectives as well, but since that meant might disappeared, I will go the other way and say that we should remove all of these objectives and replace it with the one objective working in the interest of its members. That will be a very, very good objective. And then the people and the members can decide what is actually in the interest. We don't need all this stuff. So that would be my motion.
Yes, please fill it out.
Can I have a small addition to what he just explained, given the logic being said, it is already under common policies, it's already under, if I look, strive to implement those policies, anything under it is a subcategory of that one. Then we come to the point, as being said here, but then it means there is actually only one objective. And I say, if that is well phrased, we should stick to that.
So you agree with his...
Definitely, definitely, 100%. He just analyzed the problem.
Okay.
The idea was, of course, the PPU should work in the interest of its members. Otherwise, we wouldn't make one. We don't make it to work against our interest. But at the same time, to say in our interest is such a general statement. It doesn't say anything actually. It doesn't say what we're going to do, which is in a good sense, in a way that we don't have to commit now. We can just say, okay, whenever we want, we can commit. But at the same time, it is also possible to change the statutes at any time we want. It is better to have a clear statement to say, we want to do these 5 things, and then people can say, this is good, this is not good. And, or they can even change it, or they can say, okay, that's my DPU. Or they can say, this is not my DPU, I want other goals. But it should be as concrete as possible, in my opinion.
Should we move on to the motions, or is there any more discussion?
I like to discuss, so I will stay with discussions. Well, I clearly agree with that should be more defined objectives than working with its members. I just disagree with that being in the statutes. I think that council that governs this organization will be able to set down a list of objectives, clearly stating these are the objectives. That means that the possibility to change those objectives will be much easier than if it's in the statutes. It will be less controversial, it can fluctuate over time. So basically, having statutes that can stand the test of time without need to change is good. Having statutes that will be debated, less good. So, simple, easy, short.
Yes. I think we can also, I mean, if we do what Matthias said, we can also add, I don't know, some kind of rules or ideas afterwards that we will follow, and we can include a more detailed list of objectives there. But we just don't have to write in the statute. So we can have a more detailed list, but not necessarily think about it now.
Any more discussion? No. Great. So we move on to the motion, and I hand over to
Yeah, the motion here. So which means I will read the motion from now. Sorry.
Okay.
There is a motion from the Chairman. He said to add a ballot to expect to have higher parties from all European Union countries as members.
I will come over and write it down so you have it here.
Okay.
And I didn't understand it, so I don't know if it's against these.
He's asking to add a bullet point there that says to accept all European parties.
So the objective, there should be an objective to accept all European pirate parties. That's what I understand.
To have higher parties from all the European countries.
So there is a third motion to add the bullet point with another objective, and that objective should be to have pirate parties from all European countries as members. So the PPEU should work towards that. Okay. It will be here in a minute, and Krishna can think about how
Okay. We have at the moment 2 motions. The first one is from Matt, and we are going to vote on this first. because it would void actually the motion that's coming up to add one more goal, because it says that all objectives will be reduced to one general one. So we're going to vote on this, and I will read it. Okay.
So I hope this is clear. So if this one is accepted, the other two are not voted on, because this one is not compatible with the other two. And if this one is rejected, we vote on the other two.
And it is replace all objectives presented with the following: work in the interest of its members. There's the part.
Keep them high, keep them high. Okay, so 8 yes, 5 no, 3 abstain.
Does anyone want to have this vote recorded? Then please hold up your cards, any card.
Okay, everybody wants Yes, you raise the card, then you raise before, so we can record the name of the country and the vote.
So record Estonia as well.
Sweden, yes.
Yes.
Yes, he said yes. France, no. Keep them up if you want them to record it. Cats, yes. 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 Abstain. Just go to check that.
Okay, since this motion was passed, the other two will not be voted on, which means we are already done with the topic of objectives, which is, the objectives are to work in the interest of its members. And I think it's time for the lunch break.
We are done with the objectives. Thank you very much, and we'll meet again at what was the time? 1:30 or 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock we'll be here. Okay, 2 o'clock. We will not continue with the objectives because we have dealt with that, and we'll continue with the next part, the general provisions.
Yes, the lunch break is at 2 because that's how it has been prepared.
Yes.
Well, it's later because we start later. So lunch break would be 2:30. 2:30. Now we have half an hour break. In principle, unless we need a 1 hour before, so we can do 1 hour now.
Well, does anybody want to do a break right now? Yeah, so nobody wants to have a break, so we proceed. Excellent.
Nobody wants to have a break.
Nobody wants a break. Great.
No break.
So, can I have your attention, please? We continue with the general provisions. This is basically talking about how this organization should be set up legally. So what is the name of the organization, where its seat is, and so on. So this is the overview of the draft proposal. It says that first of all, the name should be European Pirate Party or the European Pirates, and the short versions that are acceptable are EPEU and Pirates in capital letters. There will be an annex to the statutes that lists an official translation of PPEU to each of the languages. The proposal is to have the organization founded in Belgium. This would be an advantage because it would mean that the seat of the organization would be in Belgium, so it would have an office at some point. We could set it up in Brussels near the European Parliament, for example. Martina also made this draft of the statutes in taking into account the Belgian law. So this draft is more or less compatible with the Belgian law. We have an offer for the exact address of the seat for now, which would be the office of Familie Andersstädter, up until the point that PPEU could open their own office. Then we talked about the language earlier. It should say in the general provisions that English is the working language of the organization. That means if you file a motion to the board or to the council, it has to be translated into English, and the English text is the one that's binding to the organization, except for legal exceptions like French statutes and so on. The chairman would be, or chairperson would be the judicial representative, so they have the power to represent the organization in front of the law, for example in a court case or anything like that. And there is limited liability. So, for example, board members are only liable for damages that they have done while within their mandate. First topic is the name. I think this is pretty straightforward, but are there any, is there any discussion on the point of what the organization should be called? Yes, please.
So I'm born from Belgium. For me, everyone knows that we are a party, so European Pirates. We also the British party. For me, it's better just Pirate and Europe together in one name, but Europe party.
We have the same problem here. Political parties are very discredited. People have politicians. So for us, it's an advantage to keep Europe.
Well, basically, if I understand the suggestion is to have all these names, which means that if one of them are not suitable for you in your country, you will just use another one. That's the beauty of it. Instead of having to choose one, we choose them all.
But we are creating a brand,
Can we please
and everyone from
stick
marketing
to the list?
Yes, about these translations, we are also, our short name is Pirati in Slovenian. So if this virus is translated in Slovenian, it is the same. So we will have the same problem as in Belgium.
Actually, you don't have to use this short version Pirates, but of course you could, for example, do a motion that the short name is always PPEU. Guess what? And would you like to add something?
well, yes. If we are creating a brand, having 4 different names is a mess.
Nice mess.
Yes?
Oh, I would say it's not a mess, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Basically, if you look at the other European parties, they already have a lot of names. They just use one as their brand name. I can take European Green Party as an example. They're usually called European Greens. All their marketing is European Greens. But they're actually defined as European Green Party, which is only relevant when they want to diversify themselves from the Green Group in the European Parliament. And at that point, they need something else than European Greens. Of course, abbreviations should usually not be translated. So we should translate European Pirate Party to different languages, we should translate European Pirates, but we should not translate PPE and pirates in capital letters. Because those are only abbreviations. If some country wants to make up their own abbreviation, well, I don't think we need it official. So have the names translated but not the abbreviations.
Okay, so you should probably do a motion so we can fix this in the text. So it would say instead of plus translations in the official languages of America and voting rights, it would just say plus translations of the long version names in the official languages of America. Anything else? Does anybody else want to do a motion? We have one motion so far. So basically there would be two options, either to accept it as it is, or to accept the motion that says we would have these two long form names and two short form names, but only the long ones are being translated. And, yes?
Yes, we would like to present a motion
in
order to remove the name European Pirate Party. In fact, it was made an informal voting in the working class, and European pirates beat up everything else.
Okay.
And for the short names, I would personally suggest to let it free, because some people will be interested in using PPEU, but believe me, in Spain, nobody is going to use that one.
Okay.
That's the conservatives here.
They are PP.
PP. The conservatives from the
Okay, so there is one motion to remove the European Pirate Party and to remove PPEU and Pirates.
No. We don't remove PPEU.
Okay, so you
Feel free to use it internally, but
okay, so you only want to remove the European Pirate Party.
yes, and we think that it should be very positive for us to use the same name, because when we are in the European elections, that will create a stronger brand.
Okay, so we have. Okay. Okay, so we have three alternatives. One is as is, and then we have two motions. One is to remove the European Pirate Party from the list, and one is to only translate the two long version names.
I have a question maybe. So does it mean like, as is mean like all the versions concurrently?
Yes, all of them would be official names of the association.
And so then the European Commission would refer us to the official document with the full name with all the bullet points?
No, no.
Then I suggest another one, column, drop that.
Okay, I think it would be clearer if I just read the draft statutes. The official name of the association shall be the European Pirate Party and European Pirates, abbreviated as PPEU or Pirates. Both the full and the abbreviated names may be used indistinguishably. So you don't have to use all of them, you can use any of them, and you can decide which one. So the Commission could decide to either say the European Pirate Party or to say the European Pirates. Please.
Why restrict the abbreviations? Because, for example, in Italy, I'm sure that all the media will talk about the pirates. They will say the pirates here, the pirates there, but in Italian word, pirati, they will always translate. Even if they don't want, they will. So, let's use it. In my opinion, if we want to create a strong brand, it could be beautiful European pirates, because it can collect all the countries' decisions. This is not a motion, an alternative, this is just an opinion.
Okay. Yes?
The version we have at the moment does not stop us from creating European pirates as the only brand. So we can still do it. We don't have to exclude it and leave the option out. As Matt said, many parties, they have used two official names, which can be comfortable at for certain scenarios. Also, one point is, we are actually, if we are going to form the party as it is with delegates, we are rather a part or an association of parties rather than the European Pirates as the individual membership group. This would actually speak more for the applicant, but that's my personal view.
Okay. I don't see any other people who want to speak. Yes, one.
We have already direct legal borders and international direct parties. So here we speak about just the European one, and the objective is to act for the members. So all the members are European direct. And as he said, in Italian, it will be Europeano, Latino. Everyone will translate it, but it gives the same signification. It means European direct. We mean human, we mean people. And when you begin with party, we mean a collective organization or a fiesta. You know, when you just do European direct, you are the name is with the objective. You know.
Okay.
You can put the European Parliament in THE.
Okay.
This is a general remark, but we have just voted that this European Party will act in the interest of its members. And its members will be, at least the first time, private parties, will be political parties. So it's a little bit irony that we call us European pirates for an organization that is about parties. So either we make an evolution of parties, we accept we have the main party and this in it, or we do something, we assume we are an organization.
Basically, if we have both names as possibilities, then if we have a pirate chamber later, we can just use European Pirates, or we can use European Pirate Party in the beginning, or we can just this is for official documents only anyway, so it doesn't regulate how other people call us. It just means that in our official documents we can have any names, like for example, publications.
It was his turn.
Oh, sorry.
I would say that we should definitely keep what it says pirate party, just to distinguish between pirates in Europe generally and the official organisation that is the European Pirate Party, is they will be at odds at some point. There will be disagreements as to what the official organisation will want to do and what a maybe sizable chunk of the pirates in Europe want to do. Just to have it European pirates is a bit ambiguous for my thought.
So would you present a motion to cross out European pirates?
I would keep them all.
You would keep them, okay.
Yeah, the point is that when we start working on European pirates, plenty of people want to have a kind of general system for parties and for people, but it looks like technical issues and the hurry we have for funding this organization will not make it possible for individuals to become members and to have their own voice and vote in the meantime. But the objective in a midterm, at least for us, is that. So we will be anyway the European pirates. Now we will have a minimal structure or keep on working and building made by parties so we can make it grow. But we have this mid-term goal. So, and again, one of the members of the Catalan Pirates has been so stressed about branding. We make no coalitions, we make no other things to dilute the branding. We have no money, we have no resources. Most media ignores us. So if you repeat the same name 1 million times, it's much better than two different names half a million times.
Okay. Any other remarks?
That not every country may prefer the pirates version. There may be countries that prefer the European Pirate Party version. So they should have the option to use both.
We don't need to discuss this anymore. Everything has been said.
But just to say, everybody knows we are a party. So it's just a name for the people voting for us. And European pirates, when I can imagine that we have fish all around Europe, we will be different than the others. Everyone knows we are a political party. Why to say, we are the European pirates? We are different. If we want to do the same as the socialists, as the liberals, as the Green, No, I'm not here for that. I'm here to be close to the people. So what I mean, I will scrap the party. It's not about the name. It's just because we are Barak and we want to be close to people. And I want that PPEU is very close to people because in Europe it's so many different, so many cultures. But if you say we are Barak, are you?
Okay.
That's my opinion.
We have a motion to close the speaking list. That would mean if you accept this, only the person raising the hand right now, which I have recorded, would speak, and after this, we will move on to voting on the motions. So now we have to vote on whether we want to close the speaking list.
So raise your card if you want to close the speaking list. Red or green.
Sorry.
Okay, again.
Vote.
Somebody requested to close the discussion. That would mean there will only be one more person.
Who wants to be recorded publicly? Raise your card in the same color, please. Who wants to be recorded publicly?
Procedural vote. It's only yeah. Okay, SK green. Yes.
Sorry, but I think that these decisions have to be made by the moderator. We cannot make a vote for everything.
I have a question. I didn't read the procedures because I don't like to face. Does the procedure say how, if there should be a discussion for all the motions, or the motions just go to votes?
Motions can just go to vote, but yes, they can, but yeah.
So when a motion pops up and goes to vote, if you want to have discussion regarding that motion, how do you do that? Do you add a motion to add a discussion about the motion? Or
No, by default there is a discussion.
if there was no discussion regarding the motion, the discussion is.
Oh, there is no discussion about procedural votes.
Yes.
It's never discussion about procedure.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, there was a question if the moderator should just close the speaking list. Yeah, we can do that, but the problem is in this case somebody made a procedural motion. So we would have closed the discussion anyway, but since there was a procedural motion, we have to vote on it. Okay, there is one more person on the speaking list.
Well, is there a time limit on speaks?
Yes.
No filibustering.
Well, I would start by saying that I generally dislike when people close the discussion list. Basically, some people might actually add stuff that people want to reply to, and we kill them in discussion. It's better if people try to keep short than if other people try to keep them short. It tends to make them angry, and when they're angry, they tend to speak longer, which I might actually be doing right now. Branding. It was said that if we want to have a good branding, we should choose one name and stick with it. Well, then I should say kill the translations, because the moment we have 27 languages, we don't have one name anyways. That means that there will be, well, at least more than one name. And then the question is, if those names are different, why not allow the different party to decide whether they want to use the translated the European Pirate Party or the translated European Pirates, because the branding is already fucked up anyways. So there's no branding argument for choosing one. If we want to be close to people, well, see, this is a statement you could have said if you were able to add yourself to the discussion list, but you're not. Sucks to be you. The other point. If we want to be close to people, then we should be call ourselves European Pirates, but then we should not form this organization because this is an umbrella organization as it is at the moment for parties. All the statutes, it would be an umbrella organization for parties. It would be nice if that fact in some way was actually represented by the name in our documents. So for us it makes sense to be the European Pirate Party formally when we discuss formal boring stuff, and probably European Pirates when we discuss with people outside of the boring organization. Therefore, it would be very convenient to have both names. And I don't actually care about the abbreviations if they're translated or not, so I will withdraw my motion. There will be one less motion to vote on. So that will probably save the time that I've currently been wasting copying. So it sort of adds up. Thank you.
Okay. At this point, we have one motion that says to strike the European Pirate Party. Are you preparing another motion, or is anybody preparing another motion? Only one name, European Pirates, and only one abbreviation, PPEU. So we have. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I misrepresented it. There's only one motion. It says to strike the European Pirate Party and to strike the abbreviation Pirates. So I think we have to discuss this motion. Does anybody want to say something on this motion?
To be honest, a political party at the European level, if I don't miss, can only be founded or registered when you have seats in your parliament coming from different countries or you have different parliaments with representation. This organization is not going to be that one. This is going to be a non-profit.
Then this is what we are
You
doing.
cannot be a political party at the European level until you reach that thing. Then at that point,
okay. Just for everybody to understand, in order to become a European party, you have to have members in the European Parliament or basically vote elected representatives on at least the regional level. But this draft of the statutes is for an organization that aims to become a European
okay,
party.
so it can be transformed afterwards. So it became that one.
Yes, when we reach the goal of the elected representatives, then this organization tries to become registered as a European party, which means it would make sense to have party in the name if it's going to become a European party. Any other discussion points on the motion? No? Then I hand over to Fischer to vote on it.
Okay, so we'll vote on this motion. I'll read it once again. From Paul, Belgium. Only one name, European Pirates. Only one abbreviation, PPU. Classification, improved branding, and visibility. Sorry. So, raise your cards, blue or red, in case you are against it or for it.
Racing now. People, please. Okay. 5 yes. 9 no. And 2 abstentions.
What's the result?
5 in favor, 9 again, 2 abstentions. Not passed.
So the motion is not passed. Does anyone want to have this recorded? Then keep your cards in the same color up.
on the slide right now. So this would be the final vote about the name, whether or not we accept this version of the name.
So I read the sheet. The name abbreviation for the new organization are the European Pirate Party, European Pirates, names, abbreviations, PPU, Pirates. Plus the translations in the official languages of the member countries. This is for the long names. Now, please lift your cards, green or red, if you want this. White. Or white, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, lift them up. Okay, so 11 yes. 2, 3, 4, 5 abstentions. 11 yes, 5 abstentions, no, no, 0 no.
The result?
Yes, it's passed by 11 agreements, 0 against and so on, but anybody wants to vote for it?
Yeah, I want to have the results and then. Okay, now please raise the same card again if you want your vote recorded.
That's not possible. There was no no.
Same card if you want to be recorded.
If you want to be recorded, you raise your card. If you don't want to be recorded, you don't raise your card. We have the names. Many names.
Yeah, so a little question. Has somebody checked the Belgian law about if an organization can have more than one name? Because it's a little bit weird. In Spain, you can.
I think Martina has checked everything in this draft with the Belgian law. So I suppose it's possible in Belgian law to have two
European agreements.
If it's not, then it will. I'm sorry? Yes, the European Greens have two official names and they are organization founded in Belgium. So yes, this was actually created on the basis of the European Green statute. That's why it's somewhat accessible to Green. There you go. That means we move on to the next topic, which is the parties or the organization seat. One proposal, as I have already said in the summary, is to have the party seat in Belgium. And I open the discussion on this topic. Does anybody want to say something? Yes, please.
Why Belgium? It's because there is the European whatever in this country.
If I understand right, the question is why should it be in Belgium?
Yeah. I mean, if it is because the European Parliament is there, why don't we say more generic string like the priority parties seat is in where the European Parliament is?
Legally, there has to be a seat, and if we say the seat is in Belgium, then the organization is founded under Belgian law. And if we say it's in Luxembourg, then it's under Luxembourg's law. Yes, but there has to be a defined seat. We can't just tie it to the European Parliament, I think. There was a yes?
Also, the seat of the European Parliament is actually Brussels, Luxembourg, and Strasbourg. They have seats in all those three cities, but for different parts of the parliament. So saying same place as the parliament would be very tricky because then we would have to be in three places as well. And also, Brussels and Belgium is a great country. That is why we should be there. Lovely country, especially the weather.
About the seat, I think it's claimed to be Amelia's office in Brussels, but where do we have a guarantee that this seat will remain in the time? I don't know, Amelia moves or if it's official staying first.
Yes, there are two things we have to decide on. One is where the seat should be, like in which country. And then the second is the exact address.
Okay.
So we could decide to found it in Belgium, but could still decide not to have Amelia's office as the official address. Gregor?
Yes. We should distinct here the seat of the organization and the office that we can have. So we can have actually the seat any part of the world. And the representative for the Kazakhstan, I offered to house on Kazakhstan, but sorry, we would like we would be happy to do it. But unfortunately for the European law, for having the accepted as a European party, it should have a seat inside the European Union, inside the member state. But it still can have offices throughout Europe, even at Amelia's office, and still be registered in some other place, Belgium or any other country. And so if it wouldn't be for European regulation, Kazakhstan would be very happy to still hold.
Thank you, Kazakhstan. Okay, Sweden.
Well, it's certainly so that we can have the seat anywhere. But from a pragmatic point of view, it's very convenient to have the seat in the country where it's most likely that we will hire people. Because the moment you want to hire someone, it's a good thing to have a legal entity in that country. At least from my experience. It's more problematic to be a foreign organization hiring someone to work in Brussels than being a Belgian association hiring someone to work in Brussels. So if we plan to have anyone hired at any time for this organization, it's probably a good idea to have the seat in the country where we want to hire those people for purely pragmatic reasons as such.
Yeah.
For other pragmatic reasons, the PPI is also founded on the basis of the same law and Belgian matters, and they are not international because they are acting with plan and they are acting when they are. So it's just a question of legislation that the AISL in French is non-profit international organization who is possible in our law.
Okay, I don't see any more general discussion points. Does anybody want to file a motion? Yes?
Yes, I think that Belgium and Brussels is a good choice because even the federal parliaments that are there can do to the office. Even what? We have a motion.
You want the discussion? Okay, but I didn't see it, so you can finish. But for next time, please make sure that you raise your hand before I close the discussion. Okay, so you like the choice of
Yes, I think that Belgium is a good choice, even geographically because it is in the middle of Europe and can be easily reached by each country all around. I have the map on my hand, and of course it's really in the middle.
Okay.
And for the European seat of the third party, Brussels is also the easiest way for the people to choose the neutral country because, for example, Sweden or Germany or other can be bad viewed from people.
a motion.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So the motion is from Ukraine.
Motion. So, right. Sorry.
This is
Read out, yeah.
seat in Luxembourg.
From who?
From Ukraine, Ukraine.
Yeah. May I say something?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, there have been objections in that the Belgium actually do not publish the laws available in the internet, so it's very hard to find them available really by Google, like finding the provisions on associations and everything, and you need really like consult juristical literature or buy stuff somewhere else, or really like have hard time to find all the provisions because they're not really easily available on the website, say. And Luxembourg is not the case. And Luxembourg have a very well also established European legislation, and also there are examples of pirate parties who are European parties who are registered in Luxembourg, and we also have lawyers with European knowledge of European laws in Luxembourg, named Jerry Weyer, who is vice president of the Pirate Party of Luxembourg, and who offered also to assist in drafting the statutes for the Luxembourgian laws. So the argument that we have a lawyer that is familiar with Belgian law, they have the same in Luxembourg. And since PPI is registered in Belgium, and so far we saw some issues with registration and not risk of communications, and then the process has been postponed a lot of time. For example, in Belgium, everything that is regarding associations needs to be approved by the king, and in order to be published in the official way. So actually, due to constitution, you need to do the proof stuff. It's theory. So actually, the Pirate Party really don't support monarchy, and it's not that in Luxembourg.
Okay, we have two people on the list.
Yes, I was checking the Belgian law in English about non-profit organizations who now if people have two names. It's very easy, business.belgium.be. And on the other hand, we don't have so much resources, so sharing the office with PPI is a good point, and also strength is cooperation. It's way cheaper to fly into Belgium, into Brussels, than into Luxembourg. And where else? They are not here. That's all.
Germany? You want to say something?
What I want to say is that the same accessibility about the Belgian law, in fact we also have the law in book form, and it has also further information in translated form. So this probably we would not have.
Yeah. Are you raising your hand or not? You were like this. Are you? Would you like to be on the speaking list?
No.
You were raising your hand like this.
In Luxembourg, one of the languages you can possibly build statutes in is one of the things I know was being discussed on Thursday night was the fact that the statutes have to be translated into another language, even though it's not the working language of our association. So, but as I can say, we're having somewhere there's we can deposit the statutes in English, so the legal text is the same as the working language of the organisation.
Well, I'm going to give it reply directly. This is a rumor, and this rumor that in Belgium you can deposit the English statutes with the registry for an international ISBL organization has been brought in Brussels conference for the PPI, and Brussels decided as a seat for the PPI because of that, so the statutes wouldn't need to be translated. This turned out not to be true according to our notary. So we paid the translation. We have people who can do legally binding translation, certified translation in French. But the PPI headquarters actually is registered with French statutes because this is either French or Netherlands, or actually Flemish, sorry. So this is the option for Belgium. Yes, and it's quite the same for Luxembourg, so it will be also need translation to French. But we have people who can do it, and it only needs to be done like once in a while, every time we amend something or not.
Yeah. There's another point that we should consider. We are trying to help different pirate parties in Europe. The Belgian Pirate Party is running for election in 4th of October. So, making a public announcement that we are going to have our headquarters, and we are going to register there and boost a little bit there in India.
Switzerland? Question to Gregory. Can't we have the statutes actually in German if we register in Luxembourg? Because I know their laws are in German.
Yes. Well, this needs to be cleared. They publish the laws in German as a legally binding form, but I asked Jerry over quick chat, and he said it needs to be French. But
you also got Luxembourg German, which is different to German. If you
no, it's not.
It's not?
No.
German is also actually official language. Okay, does anybody else want to discuss this motion? Otherwise, we present the next motion.
I would make a question to the Belgian people. Since I know there's some German-speaking Belgians. It's its official language.
English is not.
Yes, English is not. So could it, in theory, also deposit the status in German?
Normally, yes. Yeah. We have 3 official languages in Belgium. There is an official community. There is German community with German speaking girl. Not everyone. No, but
So we don't know for sure, but probably German. Okay, we have
The second motion I will read it to you for Tom. The first paragraph should be modified to say the seat of the European Pirate Party is situated in Brussels, Belgium. Justification: in case Amelia switches offices or just doesn't have her office for any reason, we have to change the statutes, which is suboptimal.
Okay, I would like to comment on this because right now we are not voting on Amelia's office. This is not an issue right now. Right now we are only voting on the country in which we want to be founded. So this would be a motion for the next topic.
Okay. So I would say we will postpone this motion for
Okay.
The motion where the seat of the party should be.
Right now we are discussing on whether or not the seat should be in Belgium. And this motion says it should be in Brussels, Belgium, which is of course possible if the seat is in Belgium. But right now we are only deciding Belgium or Luxembourg or somewhere else. So this is not an applicable motion because we will discuss the office and the exact address and so on later.
We will have another vote where we discuss the actual address, and then we can use this in the motion. Okay.
So we keep it
the next one. Okay. If we have it in Belgium, then we will discuss have it in Amelia's office, and then we can use this.
Okay. Are there any more motions? Right now we have the proposal Belgium and the motion Luxembourg. Anybody else?
Sorry. I would like to suggest it to call for a straw poll.
A straw poll. So that would mean that we vote everybody who wants Belgium raises, let's say, the white card, and everybody who wants Luxembourg raises the red card or something. Okay. So we can proceed with the vote, and you can explain the.
It's not binding. It's not a straw. It's not binding.
Look for an opinion. So we said white for
white for
Belgium.
Red for Luxembourg.
In fact, Belgium was the first option. Should be good.
Okay, white for Belgium.
Okay.
Red for Luxembourg.
And afterwards we make a second vote where we accept, where we decide the one that happens.
White for Belgium, red for Luxembourg.
Okay. I see. be counted. Not to be counted, this is the stroke.
So this is not official, this is just so everybody knows. Okay, this was my mistake. Yes, is there a
We were
motion?
asking to remove the A.
Wait, the other one now. Okay, so no more white, but it was unofficial anyway. So, for example, now we still have to vote on the motion because it has not been withdrawn, whether the seat should be adopted.
Great. We'll start with the motion. The motion is seat in Luxembourg. You have green, red, and white cards. And please vote. This is seat in Luxembourg. What?
What? This is the official
For the
vote.
motion. For
Do
the
you
motion.
want to have the seat
Seat
in
in
Luxembourg?
Luxembourg.
And afterwards we do a vote, do you want to have the seat in Belgium?
Can't be in both places.
Lots of offices.
Okay, hold in mind. Okay, hold them up, keep them still, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3 green. 1, 2, 3, 4 abstentions. 9 red, 3
We
green.
have 9 red, 3 green, 7 abstentions.
4 abstentions.
4 abstentions.
Not passed.
So, this motion is not passed. Who wants to record his vote? Please vote up the same card.
I want to record them.
Who wants this vote recorded?
Thank you.
So now we vote on the actual proposal that you see above me. The party seat is in Belgium. You have 3 cards. Please vote up the cards.
Green and 2, 5 abstentions. No, 0 opposed.
Now hold up your card if you want to be recorded.
Okay, so we have a seat. And we okay, I would like to expand on this to explain what the proposal is. The proposal is that the seat is located at this address and that the council may move the seat anywhere in Belgium by simple majority vote. So in the case that Amelia's office closes, the council could just vote to move it to some other place in Belgium.
it can be regulated internally. So you don't need to put it on the statute, so you don't need to modify it. Okay.
So I open the discussion. I see one right now. So please.
Well, I like that place. It's actually very close to where I work. I will just wait until that discussion is over. And also, now I can speak. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Well, this is great. This is next door to our work, but I would not suggest this address because this is inside the European Parliament. Amelia has an office outside of the European Parliament on a street. That is where PPI will move. That is where the Belgian parents hang out. That is where there will actually be an office seat for PPU if they ever want to work. I would suggest that address instead because it's much, much better.
Did you prepare a motion?
Yes.
And I don't know, is it Luxembourg?
No,
Check. Okay.
We had in Czech Party in Statute we had an address too, but then we realized that if our chairman moves or something, we have problems changing the statute. So we looked into the law and realized we can put into statutes that it says Prague, Czech Republic only, not a complete address. So that's my motion.
But it's not possible in the Belgian law.
It is.
No, there has to be an address. You want to add something?
In that case, I don't know.
Okay.
You talk about another office of Maria, but is she aware that...
Please, could you speak a little louder?
Yes, if we change this is the office of Amelia, if we change for another place at Amelia's place, is she aware that we use another place and that it's okay with the, I don't know, the landlord or anything?
Yes, it is okay. She offered that opportunity at the Potsdam conference. So she's very aware that it will be used by the organization and she welcomes it. And part of the reason for her renting an office outside of the parliament is so that more pirates can benefit from it. So that is totally in line with her agenda.
Okay, any more general discussion? Otherwise, we move on to the motion. The motion is...
Okay, from that, the seat would be Louis Gerard, 47A, in Etterbeek. 1048.
Etterbeek is
For me, you can put 1014 Brussels because there are 19 municipalities in Brussels, and it's 1020, 1040, 1050, 1060, and you can put just the cost and then Brussels is good. Just to keep like this, you know, if you put the postcode and then Brussels is good.
Well, then you have to put forth a motion.
No,
my motion was that.
No, because we only decide on the principles, we don't decide on the text of the statutes today. So we can just fix that in the statute. So it's only about whether or not we want to have the office at the outside office of Amelia in Brussels. Because when you go to the European Parliament, you have to get signed in, and it's a lot of work. And in this case, you could just go there and walk in and do it.
We'll vote on this one first.
So, excuse me, what's the difference between the two offices?
This office, one office is inside the European Parliament. That means yes, that one. And the one in the motion is outside of the European Parliament. So you don't have to.
So maybe it's better outside.
Yes. Okay, so we first vote on the outside.
We are voting on the motion. I will read it again. That motion, the seat should be Louis Gerard, 47A, 1040 Etterbeek, outside the European Parliament office. So please raise your cards, red, green, or white.
Yes.
12 greens, 2 abstentions. Now, who wants to be recorded
Who wants his vote recorded? Please hold up your cards.
Okay, the next point is the party is founded under Belgian law. I suggest that we just move to the vote because we already discussed this when we discussed the siege.
Do we need the voters and the interpreters?
I don't know, it's in the slides.
Let's have it quickly.
Yeah, let's just do it.
So have you vote? I'm happy.
It's the consequence of
Yes.
the consequence of
Seats is in Belgium.
you will do it.
Let's just vote.
I don't know.
So, who is without discussion? Who is for? Who is for this proposal?
Okay, hold them up, please.
Make it easy for them, you know, moving from them to the.
Okay. So then we've got 14 maybe plus 1. 14 yes.
15 yes. No, maybe no.
Small, big progress.
We'll skip the recording. We'll continue with the next part.
Okay, since everybody voted the same thing, we don't have to. The next is English is the working language and the language for official documents. Of course, the exception may be if we can't file the statutes in English, of course, there will be a translation, but of course there can be translations of all documents of the PPEU, but the English version will be a binding one. I open the discussion on this point, please.
Yeah, if you are under Belgian law, you need to find the word in French.
Yes, that's what I just said. I just said this is not in contradiction because.
But you have to
put it in your statute.
Well, we put in the statutes that if you make, for example, a motion to the council, there has to be an English translation of it because this is a right that the members have. The members have a right to read the motion to the council in English, and that's why we have to put it in the statutes. But the French translation or Dutch translation or German translation of the statutes would still be legally binding. This is just for our internal organization. I see two. Okay, let's start here and then.
Well, I am a great believer that the Greeks do things right sometimes. And in their statutes, it clearly says, in the event of divergence or doubt between these statutes in French and the original version in English, the English language version prevails. So it's quite possible, in accordance with Belgian law, to have the English version prevail. But they will need a French translation. Actually, they will probably need a professional translator for them so they know it's accurate. But we can have the English version as the Belgian law. There's no contradiction with Belgian law in that regard. I prefer English for French because I understand English.
Okay, then I misrepresented that, so that means that even for the statutes, English would be the binding one, but there has to be an official French translation. Okay, thanks. Please.
I understand the logic principle of a working language. There is no problem whatsoever within the organization. But when it comes to our organization towards persons or local organizations, the English version can never ever be binding because the people express themselves in their own language first. Therefore, you cannot attack them on a translation. This is plain, straightforward wrong. How to sort it, I don't know. Give them the right of a translation, what have you. But the translation is binding. No, no, no. Never.
Okay, so
It's because for the legal bit, in politics it's one thing, but from the group versus its parts, it is not binding. It has to be.
But it has to be.
It is in practice. Because when it comes to the core of a discussion of a difference, I do not want to be argued out with something that I do not completely understand.
okay.
I'm sorry, but this is the human against the politics.
Okay. Switzerland,
That's my point.
Sweden, and then Max.
The council cannot vote on something that not all the members understand. And it cannot have anything binding to them, to the council, that the council doesn't understand. I will not vote on the council on something that is binding in a language I do not understand.
Yeah.
No, that was so greatly expressed. I don't have to say else than we.
Okay, so yes, please.
This is not a proposal of official language. This is a proposal of an unofficial language that is Esperanto. Because this is the part second language, and we could maybe it's just for fun that Esperanto is the unofficial.
So you would like to have a motion that there are two official languages? One is
No,
that
not
is
official, but unofficial language, Esperanto.
But anything unofficial doesn't go in the statutes. Only official things go in the statutes.
Yeah.
So you
The translation is allowed also in
A
Esperanto.
formula to insert this topic because Esperanto is.
Yes, Esperanto is
What?
great.
Esperanto sucks. You know the European afterwards.
France.
If in the European
Please, if you want to say something again, you can go on the list. But there are two people before you.
I would really like to propose French icons, but I would like because it's a beautiful language. It's practical and everything, but I completely understand the fact that everybody must understand what we are talking about. So let's keep engaging. But I don't have a motion, but sometimes in English we have problems because some words are too general. For example, free means something like freedom, something about the cost, the price. And maybe we cannot do it in the statutes, but we should take into account that we can have problems if we use some words that can have multiple meanings in other languages. So maybe we should look, maybe we could find a solution to resolve problems or at least try to anticipate problems in the rest of the statutes.
Well, there is one thing in the statutes where it says, I'm sorry, I have to look for it, but I think it's something like this.
For example, the word country in the statutes means differences can be a sovereign state, can be a nation, can be a region with a strong identity. And if we don't know what we are talking about exactly, and everybody uses the word country, then we have troubles afterwards because we make a party with rules based on country, and not everybody agrees on what country exactly means in the statutes. So
Okay.
it's more general. Something to take into account in all the statutes.
I think this is something that the lawyers that are going to do the final draft of the statutes will try to take into account, because basically the law is doing exactly that, trying to make everything defined. Also, there is a section in the general provisions that says, in interpreting these statutes, a pragmatic approach shall be chosen with preference to the spirit and purpose of the statutes. So when, let's say, a court of arbitrations is interpreting the statutes, they should be taking into account what was meant when we wrote the statute. So thankfully we have a very detailed protocol, and then the court of arbitrations will also look at the protocol and try to interpret the statutes in light of what we meant. Okay, so as I see it, there's one more.
Right, so just
okay.
something about Esperanto, but
okay,
it's over.
So we don't have any more people on the speakers list, which means we move on to motions. Does anybody want to file a motion? That's not the case, so we move on to the motion.
Okay, so I will read out what we are going to vote about. English is the working language, the language for official documents. Translations are allowed, but the English version is the binding one. Please hold up your cards for your vote.
Okay, so we don't have to record.
No recording. Finish the recording.
Yes, it's unanimous. Okay. Oh, okay. So this is a little bit confusing. Basically, it says that the council represents the association in all judicial and extrajudicial acts, but of course there has to be a person who actually speaks in the name of the council, and that person is the chairperson. So the first and the second bullet points are not in contradiction to each other, but basically the council represents PPEU, that is all the full and associated members who have voting rights, and the chairperson represents the council, for example, in front of the court. The board binds the PPEU for day-to-day management, means that the board can make day-to-day decisions like buying new paper for the office, and because this is a legal act, buying something, but since it's day-to-day management, the board can do that without the council. Discussion. Yes.
Just a little word. The council is the main organ, and because it's not the board that binds you, it's the council that is the supreme organ of the EU, and the board executes what the council decides. This is to be because we have we can have a dictatorship of the board that cannot be shared by the council. So it's very dangerous as a principle.
Okay, I have Germany, France, Czech. Please.
This is for day-to-day management, which would mean the dictatorship would be to buy paper or these things. It would not be on the political or other sports decisions. It's only for keeping the party alive and going.
The board and the delegation of the council to act and decide of such regulations that the council decides. But it's the council that is the main organ. It's the super decision on everything. Is the council that has the last
I put you on the reading on the
In France, we have a mechanism that allows the members during the year to revocate somebody with not the council and initiate. So they can act with the same freedom, but if they make big mistakes and start to go make things crazy, so the board resisting the council has the power during the year to end their mandate. So maybe
have done everything right regarding the finances, and if there is, if the board spends money on some bullshit, then they are liable for it, because they are liable for mistakes they make in their office. Okay, I have checked Italy, Sweden, and the oh, and the UK. Okay. So, check.
If I understand correctly, then the council is the legislative body, right? And the board is the executive. We want the separation of powers, which means, to me at least, that we don't want a representative of the board to represent council. I have a motion, I write it, that the PPU itself would be represented by the board. I do not know what you mean by judicial acts. Well, at least not exactly, but
okay.
I think.
Well, judicial acts are anything that is legally binding. So if you sign a contract or if you make a purchase. So, okay. I have Italy.
I have two motions about the statute draft. I don't know if we are talking about that.
No, we are talking just about the bullet points.
Yes. About the bullet point, I just want to correct that the council is the supreme authority of the EU and has full decision power.
Okay.
This is to be corrected.
So you want to remove the third bullet point?
No. The third bullet point is as following. The internal regulations are decided by the council and adopted by the board. So the board binds PPO according to the council decisions or the council rules.
Okay, well, I'm not sure I understand.
So just fix the first line, so it's enough. So
What should the first line say?
The council is the supreme authority of the PPU.
Okay.
And represent PPU for jury their arts.
Okay,
Just
could you turn in the motion and we proceed with the discussion. Sweden?
Yes, I agree with everything Italy says, and I would suggest that we will go to the motion that is proposed by Italy, because that is not necessary. Everything you want is there. Everything you want it to be is already there. You're just trying to make it more clear, but it doesn't help, because it's already there. If the council represents PPE for judicial acts, then it is the highest authority. That's the definition of representing PPE for judicial acts.
Yes.
And then
should be different, whatever.
Then there's a delegation to represent the council, and then it clearly states that the board has the capacity to make decisions. They can never contradict the council. They can, and this statement doesn't make it so. Everything you want is already there. Everything you add will not just make it more vague.
What you say?
Yes.
We can explain that.
Okay, let's stick to this. Regularly, then UK, and then France.
So, I need to understand. So, like the council, the chapter membership is scheduled to be after this session, but actually, the council is the body that represents the member parties.
Yes.
And so they have not decided yet over if it will be like include also the Pirate Party, you also include individual members or not. It will be discussed in the later session. But if then if it would accept individual session, which I wouldn't want to discuss right now, there would be also another another body, which would be the General Assembly of all members, and this would be the highest governing body, obviously, and or at least at some points, so it wouldn't be like putting it too broad would limit our options in the later discussions, which is not yet discussed yet. So
Okay.
We propose to stick what we have right now to have it quite specific, because
Otherwise, we would just be in our self-base in the later discussion.
Yes. Okay, so we have to keep in mind later when we talk about the council that if we decide this, that the council is the body that makes that represents the EU for judicial acts. Just something we have to keep in mind. The UK?
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's really done this way round. If we're having...
Please, could we stop the bilateral discussions and listen to what UK has to say?
If we're having the board as the executive body of the BPEU, then I don't see why it's not the board then chosen by the council isn't the organ that will represent BPEU. If it's just day-to-day management stuff that they're doing, but not then representing BPEU at other times, I'm not sure why it's this way round rather than the other way round.
So would you like to file a motion or would you
Well,
just like to have it explained?
Yeah, I'd like to know the reasoning before I propose a motion.
I think it's supposed to recognize that the council is still that body with the highest authority. And so if it says that the board represents the TPU for judicial acts, then it would be more difficult for the council to overrule that. But this way, if the chairperson does something that is against the interests of the organization, the council can just tell them to stop. I suppose.
Can I just
first, I have one from France, and then I will put you on this. And okay. Okay, so I have France, then I have you in the back, Italy, Italy.
Take, for example, the chairperson starts to make if the chairperson starts to take wrong decisions that are against the will of the council, and the council says don't take this decision, will there be a tool for the council to remove the person of the board position?
Well, later when we talk about the board, we will have to discuss whether the chair, whether the council can remove somebody from the board. But what we do have in the general provisions is the limited liability of the board members. That means legally they would be liable if they do something against the interests of the organization. If we pass that. But we don't know yet if we can remove somebody from the board. But it would probably be advisable to have some board.
I just want to say something because I'm also from Belgium, and non-profit organizations, if you look at them, the structure is exactly as stated there, so you can't even change it because it's just how Belgian law operates. It has to be a board representing the council. The council has to be bigger than the board, and the board must obey to the council at least annually. So I'm bringing it to.
Okay, since we are approaching lunchtime, I would ask you to think about whether you have to contribute to the discussion.
Yeah, well, actually, this comes exactly to what my question is, because I'm a little bit confused. He said the board represents the council, and what he said on the bullet point, the chairman represents the council. Does it mean that the chairman can do a sole decision of taking a juridical act without consulting with the board? Because the board is only for day-to-day management, for buying copy papers and stuff, and the chairman do all this show for a year until he gets re-elected. In that case, I would really suggest to put like the board representing the council, and the board is represented by the chairman of the board, but it's fine with the decision of the board.
I think if you want to do the motion, you have to decide whether the board has to represent it unanimously or any member of the board. Like in German law, Alleinvertretungsrecht and Zusammenvertretungsrecht. So if you would like to file a motion,
I'm not sure. Do I understand this correctly?
I believe you do. I believe it means that the chairman can go to the court by themselves without the rest of the board and represent the organization. And if you put board,
it's not the entire council can go to court. For example, there's only one person. So for him, the chairperson would go.
So the German equivalent would be der Vorsitzende.
So this is the one part. The second part is that the board can do their management to keep the things going. I would like.
There's not connected points.
No, they're not connected.
What I
Okay,
mean,
Italy.
what I mean is that the council represents PPO for juridical acts.
Yes.
So, just for that.
Yes.
The chairman represents the council for juridical acts.
Yes.
Just for that. So, it means that the chairman represents for juridical acts, and the council stay there and look. And the board binds PO for day-to-day management, so it means that the money where to propose the initiatives, the pan-European events, etc. It will be the board to decide.
No, that's
but
not
it's
it.
not written. What I say that
Okay,
yes,
we
what I
will make
say
sure
that
that
is we are all agree on
Please.
this. But I'm talking, and let me finish, please. What I say is we all agree on this, but it's not written. Neither there in
Okay,
the point,
okay, I
and
get
it's not written neither in the statute draft. So what I'm asking to do is just to write, okay? Because all of us agree on this point, but just write, okay? Because it's just speaking, but that's the motion. Can you read?
Let's have the motion. We can stop it.
Okay.
Okay, we have two motions. We have two motions. The order doesn't matter. Some is for short one. It's nothing against you. One is by Julia, replace chairman by chairperson. One motion. The second motion, the council is the supreme authority of PPU. As
It's the first bullet point.
Yes, as first bullet point. And full the legal power and represents PPU for judicial acts.
Can I repeat?
Yes, please. To read your writing.
Yes.
Please write so
Yes, I'm just asking to add a simple phrase to the first bullet point. The council is the supreme authority of the PPU and has full decisional power and represents PPU for juridical acts.
Okay, but
Just
you want
this
to keep
at the end.
the second and third bullet point you want to add.
Just this.
Okay. Yes.
Because it's not written in anywhere.
You want to keep the third bullet point?
Yeah, we keep all, but just add this simple phrase that the council to disambiguous the competence of all the other decisions.
So we have two things to vote upon, and then we go.
Okay, but we have two people on the discussion for the motions, and after that I would like to close. First of all, it's me. The chairperson thing, I just think that, well, some parties or some members might have a problem with the word chairman, and if we put chairperson in, I think everybody can agree on it, and it wouldn't be a discussion. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. But for the one with the supreme body and supreme organ of PPEU, under PPI, this has caused some consternation about whether the GA can just overrule what's in the statutes. I won't go into that argument, but I think we should avoid the word supreme organ or supreme.
Could you please speak up a little? It's different to this. Everybody else, please be quiet.
Everybody else be quiet. We are almost in.
Yeah, I think we should avoid the term the supreme body or the supreme organ of PPEU because it has caused some problems in PPI with regards to exactly what the GA can do with regards to the statutes because of the word supreme. And I think we should avoid that when we're drafting our statutes.
But it's not written in the statute.
You want to make a counter motion?
No, it's the proposed text, right? So you want this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
It's
just
not-
speaking against the motion on it.
So we have two motions to vote on, and we can proceed with the vote.
We'll start with the motion. The council is the supreme authority of PPEU has full decisional power and represents the EU for judicial acts. Please raise your cards.
Yes, I asked to record all of these votations.
You can only record your own.
Yes, I want to.
First of all,
the votations to be recorded.
Please,
I will announce the results.
Okay, we have heard you, but could you please
Yes.
abide by the rules of the assembly?
I will announce the results. We have 3 for the motion, 9 against the motion, and the rest abstentions. You have the number. Now we want to record. Who wants this record recorded?
And I would like to note that Daniela asked everybody to have their vote recorded, but of course it's your decision.
We have another motion for this one. For this one. We want to replace the word chairman by chairperson. I think we can go to voting directly. Please raise your cards for this vote. Okay, I repeat. Replace chairman by chairperson. Please raise your cards. Who wants their vote recorded? Please raise the same card.
You must know the process very well.
Yes. You see one? It's exactly right.
Okay, we have a few.
Yeah, thank you.
We have 2 procedural motions which you can do before lunch and then go to lunch. Okay? Yep. So Gregory, modify the rules of procedure as follows. Article 8(7) is amended with the sentence, motion has passed if nobody talks against it. Here, this could speed up the procedure time.
Does everybody else?
I read again. Modify the rules of procedure as follows. Article 8(7) is amended with the sentence, motion has passed if nobody talks against it.
This is about the closing of the speaking list. May I say? So this is to change how we, if the motion to close the speaking list, the chairman say if somebody objected,
If there is an objection, there would be like voting of if it should the motion should pass. But if no objection, the motion will automatically pass without counting and procedural stuff. And together with that, I have a second motion which extended further to create a motion to reopen the speaking list. This was also objected, so keep in mind this is connected.
Okay, do we want to have a discussion on these motions? Is it necessary? Does everybody understand them? Okay, one remark.
Just a remark. So far we have only asked for the request to speak and not the objections. That we would change also. We would ask, does someone object to the motion or something like this?
No, this is only for closing the speaking list. So if somebody requests to close the speaking list and nobody objects, then the speaking list is closed. That's the first motion. The second motion is that somebody can request to be open.
You can read the second motion with the city.
Okay. Everybody understand?
I understand.
Right.
Okay, so we can vote. Please raise your card for this motion. Who wants this one recorded?
Okay, second motion.
Okay, the last one before lunch. There's another motion. Add a procedural motion. Reopen the speaking list. Amend the list of allowed motions and add reopen of the speaking list. If the speaking list is currently closed, the passing of this motion would open the speaking list again. Needing new motion to reopen the speaking list. Any comments or can we vote directly? Any comments? Speak? Can you repeat? Yeah, I'll repeat. We add a procedural motion, reopen the speaking list. Amend the list of allowed motions and add reopen of speaking list if a speaking list is currently closed. The passing of this motion would reopen the speaking list again. So we need a motion for that. Anyone request to speak? And we can vote on it. Please raise your cards.
Hang on, wait. Okay. 11 yes. 5 abstentions.
Anyone wants it recorded? So, we have not finished everything yet. But it doesn't I think it doesn't make sense to start new topics now. We will go for lunch and please be on time for coming back.
Lunch will be here.
Goodbye.
Don't go away.
We will speak about the times.
Yeah, so we started a couple late. We will make it shorter. Lunch break will be only 1 hour. So we will be here at 3:30 to start again. Okay? And our volunteers here, the two will explain what
the room will be locked? Will the room be locked?
We will be here, I guess, or...
Well, we are the only ones in the world here.
And we are locked in.
Sí, no, lo estoy haciendo. Sí, lo que pasa es que si no corresponde creo que un poco... Ya al final